Hello and welcome to today's webinar. How can photogrammetry provide extreme ROI for different industries? My name is Linda McLaughlin and I am Conference Programs Manager for GeoWeek. And so I'd like to just go through a few housekeeping notes to start. So we've muted everybody's lines, as you probably noticed. We've got two boxes for questions. One of them is the chat box, and that goes directly to our webinar host. So if you have any technical issues, that would be the box that you use. And then if you also continue to experience difficulty during this webinar, please email info@expouav.com and we will respond right away. The other box is for Q&A, and that will go to all panelists if you want to select all panelists, and we'll be able to ask your questions as time allows. So I think with that, we will jump right in. We have two polling questions during this webinar. So a pop-up box will appear when we run each poll. So please choose from the multiple choice questions and hit submit. So we're going to actually jump in right away with that. And here is our first poll. Okay, so while we're collecting that, we're going to go through some introductions. So we'll go Marco, then Farah, then Leon. So Marco, would you like to introduce yourself?
Thank you, Linda. Hi, everyone. My name is Marco. I'm product manager at 3D Survey team. By profession, I'm a land surveyor. I actually graduated at University of Ljubljana. This is in country Slovenia in Central Europe. And I actually started with this technology a bit more than 10 years ago, when me and two of my friends decided to start a company as a startup. And then after 10 years, we are actually software leader for photogrammetry processing software, specially optimized for land surveying purposes. As already mentioned, 3D Survey story started 10 years ago in 2011, when we bought our first drone. At that time, it was super expensive, but we started doing first projects. Those were mainly orthophoto maps, volume calculation projects for construction and mining companies. We did some topo and survey maps. We tried to push this technology also on a cadastre measurements and actually finished more than 500 projects in the first 4 years. We see actually a huge potential of this technology and decided to offer this to every surveying, mining, construction, or similar company worldwide. We packed all the experience and knowledge together and actually developed a 3D survey software, which is an aerial image mapping software for land surveying specialists. I'm also trained drone pilot operator. I was actually by development of our own drone in 2013. At that time, there were no Phantom drones, and we'd like to offer to our customer the complete solution. So software plus hardware, and we need to figure out something. I must say this was interesting time, but nevertheless, we learned a lot new and a lot about the drones and everything, how it works. So we can also share those experiences with you. And if you like to know something more, send us please questions and we will answer them at the end of the webinar. But there is also someone else with who I'm trying to spend as much time as possible when I have. So I'm kind of a family person. I have a wife and a young boy, 2 years old, and he is mentoring me on a daily basis. But when I have time, I love to go also to cycling or maybe windsurfing to Slovenian or Croatian coast. So you know most about myself. So Farah, feel free to introduce yourself.
Hello, everybody. My name is Farah Echeverry. I am the co-owner of Echeverry Land Surveying in Northern Arizona. I started land surveying with my father a little over 6 years ago now, and about 4 years ago started in with drones. And we really wanted to use drones to do a lot of our topography and a lot of our volume calculations And that is how I came to know everybody over at the 3D survey team. So I am a land surveyor in training, and I am also obviously a drone pilot operator and really enjoy what I do. I'm also a mom to 3, so really busy over here and excited to talk about how I can balance all of my workload by using this software.
Nice. Thanks, Farah. Leon.
Awesome. Hi, everyone. Very welcome. And yeah, so my side of the story, I am actually a mechanical engineer with just really a love for the whole built environment as a whole. And yeah, I was almost lucky enough to be at a young age placed in South Africa. So we're from South Africa, placed in a company, in a big engineering firm, where we had the opportunity to take on a project and work that project almost as a business. So the main function was to save energy on mines and to make sure that that project is profitable. And that's where I really got a love for business and for profitability as a whole. And then my paths crossed with some survey instruments, with Viam and with the team. And I've been a partner now here at some survey instruments for about 2 years, working with 3D survey as well. And one of my goals here at some survey is helping surveyors to be more profitable. And as you're going to see later, that 3D survey is one of the best tools that a surveyor can actually use to make his whole company more profitable. And we're going to definitely dig into that a bit later. And yeah, so very excited for this webinar.
Excellent. Oh, that's fantastic. And I see we have the results of our poll is up. So as you can see, the question, of course, was, are you currently using photogrammetric software? 64% of this audience is, 33% is not, and there's nothing that was not applicable. So that's fantastic. So what we will do right now is jump into presentations. So Marco, well, I'll let you take it away.
Okay, thank you. In next 4 slides, I would really like to show you the short introduction about the complete technology. So first, we'll have a short video about technology overview. Then we see what is really important to have high ROI. It's written all in one. You will see later what does mean this. Then we'll see in which industry presence this technology is really powerful. And we'll go industry per industry and see 3+ top features which are really interesting for it. Right now, I would like to load a video presentation to explain you a bit more how everything works from the field to the office part. So it's a super interesting technology, super elegant. These days, drones are packed in such a small boxes. You can have them by yourself in a daily basis. We also develop a 3D survey pilot application, which is available for iOS and Android device. With the 3D survey pilot app, you actually plan your mission, you set your area of interest, and set some additional technical parameters as flying height, overlap, and you're ready to go. So you can plan your mission in a minute, click on start, and drones start autonomously to the specific height, fly over terrain, trigger pictures. During the flight, you have a real-time video support from the camera, so you have full control over the drone, what's happening. And for an area like this, you finish mapping in 10 to 15 minutes, have about 300 images on Drone SDK, which you transfer to your desktop computer and start processing with 3D survey. And here we can already see point cloud results. This is the first results from images, a realistic 3D point cloud, based on which we can generate mesh. If we texture this mesh, it's so-called textured 3D mesh. And then in addition, we have a number of different functions inside in the software. So it's a complete solution. In case you would like to create or generate contour lines, this is just one click away. If you would like, for example, calculate volume from specific stockpile, you just select your area of interest, and in no time you get a volume calculation out. There are profile lines and cross sections inside, and number of additional functions, which you will see in next presentations. And we have also a free viewer available. If you would like to share those data with your customers, you can easily use our free viewer available from webpage, download them, and show your results to your end customers. So this is really a quick workflow presentation from the field work to the office processing. And now the second important thing I would like to show you here, share with you, is most of the solutions on the market have or just processing part or just functional part. And what is really important to have here, if you like to have a high ROI, is that you have those two parts in a single software, that you don't need to export point cloud, texture 3D models or orthophotos to a third-party software and calculate the volume or profile lines or do the surface manipulation tools. It's great to have this in a single software, and this makes you really, really effective. So this part is super, super important to know. And if we see the industry presence where this technology is effective, we have, for example, here 8 industry. The first one is surveying and mapping, a really powerful one. We are from this field, work with this more than 10 years. So most surveyors are already using this technology, I must say. So we are really happy about this. Then the second one is documentation and 3D. So with the help of standard digital camera, you can create such a nice 3D models that this wasn't able to do a few years ago. The next one is inspection and public safety. Let's say forensic police departments and that kind of offices can use also this technology. Of course, construction is one of the strongest one. If you like to monitor anything, you can do easily. And probably the strongest one, mining. Leon will explain you a bit more in the detail for this industry. Then architecture, utilities, oil and gas are next 3 where this technology is really powerful. And now I will just go technology per technology and describe really quickly top 3+ functions which are super important and which are included in this package. So the first one is integrated CAD tools. After you create a textured 3D model or point cloud, you have option to draw 3D lines in the same software. So you don't need to export data to third-party softwares. You can create and connect 3D lines. In this case, I'm connecting building corners, and then you can just easily export just 3D lines as a layer type DXF and import in any other CAD software. Then automatic classification is in the software. If you would like to remove objects, high vegetation, machinery, anything like that. Contour lines are super important for surveying and mapping. And another one, traditional data support. So what does it mean? If you have a total station points, or you have points from GNSS device, or let's say from terrestrial LiDAR, you can easily import them in a single project, combine them, work together, and so on. Then results are directly compatible with most of the other state CAD softwares. So these are, let's say, most important things for surveying and mapping. If we go to our second industry, documentation and 3D, in this case, definitely the textured 3D model is the most important one. There are some 3D measuring tools available. On the left side, you can see recorder video from one project of a statue, and some additional measurements are done and presented here. What I would like to mention here is that the software works with any drone, any camera. Even if you take your phone camera, you can create such a nice model. Of course, you need to take in account better the camera, better the results. Then you can combine this with other OBJ objects. So we have a wide range of import-export options here. And the recording engine creates such a nice, stunning videos as you write so on the presentation. So you just simply create camera positions where you would like to fly the camera, and in, let's say, a minute or two, this video is created. As I already mentioned, we have also free viewer option available, what is really important, because usually those file types are really big ones, and if you don't have a professional software, it's sometimes hard to share them, but that's why we create a free viewer. Anyone or your customer can download it from the web page and import what you actually calculate. Okay, the next really important industry is construction. Maybe first point I would like to mention here is multiple project support in a single window. So what can you do? If you have 2 measurements or 3 or more measurements from the same construction site, you can easily import them in a single project and do the comparison. So do the volume comparison, measurements, anything like that. So this is super easy, and you have really good control what was happening on a field. Then we have integrated measuring tools to get all the information from point cloud or textured model. LiDAR and traditional data support, as I already mentioned. This is also super important. Sometimes if you have some forest area beside and you need to measure the terrain in the forest, with the photogrammetry is actually hard because you get the upper side of the trees, and LiDAR can penetrate to the terrain points, and in this case you can easily combine them or just add traditional measurements. Then I would like to mention in construction part, our automatic classification is state-of-the-art because it's super simple, really fast, and super effective. So it's almost fully automatically and delivers great results. Of course, flight path recorder, again available. If you would like to compare results from different measurements, this is super easy to do and really visible. So this is the biggest benefit of this technology. Till now, we've been doing just some kind of 3D CAD sketches and something like that. Here, everything is nicely visible. Okay, mining, definitely the strongest one. I must say there is no better technology available right now as photogrammetry in case you have a mining project, and we have a fully integrated volume calculation engine inside. You can calculate profile lines or cross sections. Everything is also optimized with automatic reporting, so you get all the results in a document file, and you can share those document files with your end customers. The same as with construction, you can compare 2 or more measurements. Even if you have a first measurement, traditional measurements, you can create a surface with the help of our algorithms, traditional way, and then combined with the second measurements, which is the photogrammetry measurements. So everything is more or less covered. And of course, what's also here important, surface manipulation tools or editor tools. Sometimes you are not on the field right time, you're maybe a bit late or a bit too fast, and they just describe you, okay, we will still remove some material here away, and you need to have these tools that you select in the software, lower or higher the surface or anything like that. So in this way, you can be super effective. Public and safety. CAD tools, again, you can draw a quick sketch, measuring tools, shareable file formats. Then you have side orthophoto, so you can, instead of nadir orthophoto, create also side orthophoto to do some 3D sketches out of it. And we have also option for local orientation in case the forensic department or police department does not have a GNSS device because it costs in addition. You can do accurate local orientation based on 3 known points. But this is for next webinar. Okay, another industry, architecture, side orthophoto. On the left side, you can see an orange box which defines us the orthophoto facade, which we will create. One click away, the orthophoto is there, and then you can vectorize all the details you would like to have. LiDAR, once again, it's compatible if you would like to edit something even more detailed. And I would like to mention here our X-ray function, which is kind of a blockbuster currently. With the help of X-ray, you can super easily extract building corners, even if you have a LiDAR point cloud from interior of the building. You can create floor plans in no time. Okay, in the utilities, I would like to mention everything is also GIS compatible and ready for BIM management if you are using that kind of technology, and same goes with the oil and gas. So perfect results for disaster management, coordination if you need quick inspection management and GIS management. Okay, hopefully I was not too long.
Nope, that sounds great. You know, before Farah, we jump into your use case, Thomas had a question about getting access to presentations in the recording, and the answer to that is absolutely. We're going to be sending that out in a couple of days, so you can keep an eye out for that via email. So with that, we're going to jump into a use case, and Farah is going to talk about the use of these tools for surveying and mapping. So Farah, let you take it.
Hi, everybody. So we first started using 3D survey software about 4, maybe 5 years ago now. And it was one of the, we trial run a couple, and we decided on 3D survey for tons of reasons, a lot of which Marco just described. And primarily for me, because of the support that 3D survey offers. So I knew when I signed up to do this webinar with the team that they were going to put together a beautiful presentation showing all of the amazing features that 3D survey has to offer for this surveyor out there, and that they would do a fantastic job explaining that. So what I wanted to do was put together a really short presentation showing you guys how 3D survey also helps take what could have been a disaster and salvage your data and help you get through these really tough projects, which in turn obviously increases your ROI and it reduces your stress level. So on the screen, you guys can see a project before and after photo. And this is a big project that we went and flew out of town. It was a 2-day trip. It was for a large power plant, and they needed an ALTA done. There was the specific measurements that they really needed were a long stretch of railroad tracks. For any of you, and it appears that 64% of you already fly drones and use software like this, you guys probably know that long, skinny flights can sometimes be a real pain to process. So we had to break this flight up into 2 over the course of the 2 days because of weather and other circumstances. The data is combined with other methods of measurement. So total station was used and GPS was used for this project as well. When we flew it and brought it back into the office, this project took about 12 to 15 hours to run. It's a massive amount of data. And you can imagine my shock when this explosion of a point cloud popped up after my first round of processing. So the beautiful thing about 3D survey is they're a click away, an email away. They're always available to help. And they were able to use TeamViewer. So I'm all the way in Arizona. They were able to get into my computer and rerun the data for me and fix some of the problems. A couple of the problems were the fact that we broke it into 2 flights. And another problem was one of our field crew guys missed a panel. So we had a panel out there that had not been shot. So we were selecting it in the process of data acquisition and stuff. And so we had one in there that didn't belong. So the 3D survey team gets into my computer and is able to rerun my data for me. And it turns out like the bottom picture is just one small detail shot of a really huge project that they were able to save for me. Not only that, but they were able to take my orthophoto because I had 2 of them since we had 2 flights. And they were able to adjust some of the lighting and the exposure and everything to make my orthophoto look 10 times better than anything that I could have done with it. So Marco, you can go ahead and switch to the next slide. So here's another aerial shot of the railroad tracks and some of the surrounding areas. A few things that I wanted to touch on here is that 3D survey is absolutely mindset toward the land surveyor. They have all of the expertise and the years of experience to help us in the field and in the office. So the Surveyor, or this software, is designed to cut a lot of our time out in the field, and it diverts a little bit of it back into the office, but it cuts time in the office too, and it has increased our deliverables to our clients, which is a huge reason that we have so many return clients constantly requesting drone work done versus traditional topography. So now when we do maps for our clients, we are including, of course, a traditional survey topo map, but also including one with an orthophoto draped over it. And it's one of the features that, just like I said, keeps our clients coming back and wanting more. We even have been doing simple flights to overlay orthophotos on top of our regular boundary surveys. So things that didn't even need any topo work and real 3D modeling. Our clients are really enjoying those features. So like I said, when you need support, these are the people to come to. They have been incredibly helpful on a number of projects, even all the way across the world. So Marco, you can go ahead and switch to the next slide. So one of the most important things, of course, that is going to be asked when you're being presented with a new software that's a big investment for your company or for you as an individual is what is going to be my return on investment? Am I going to make my money back? Am I going to increase my revenue by enough to make it worthwhile? And in our experience, the answers to those questions are yes. So our productivity has gone through the roof. We're able to get so many more surveys done in a week out in the field, get the field work done and everything flown. And like I said, divert some of that time back into the office. So we're getting surveys done probably about 25 to 30% increase of the rate that we were 5, 6, 7 years ago. Our clientele has increased since we started doing drone topography and volume calculations and using 3D survey, because of the deliverables that we're able to give to people. Not only are we able to present them with a beautiful map, but now with a 3D survey viewer, we're also able to send them that link. They can download the viewer. It's very, very simple. And they're able to then view the 3D models that we have built for them and worked on in a way that is obviously that nobody's ever been able to do that before. Our engineers love it. Our architects really love it. And so it has increased our clientele and our productivity, decreased our field time. And I don't know about where you guys live, but here in Arizona in the summer, I'm all about reducing my field time by 50% when it's 110 degrees outside. So that's a huge plus for us. And of course, our revenue has also increased. 25% is what I told the team, but that is a very modest number. Like I said, when you're able to complete survey work at half the rate that you used to be able to finish it, you're making much more money. If you can give an estimate for a topo and you can go out there and get the field work done with a flight and a little bit of extra GPS work in an hour, your revenue is going to go through the roof. So those are the things that I really wanted to touch on, the support being number one. If you guys have a problem and you're using some kind of 3D software, it's the most frustrating thing if you can't get a hold of somebody in time and if they can't walk you through the problem themselves, if they're not able to actually get in there, get your data, help you figure out what you did wrong, fix it for you, and then help you not make those same mistakes again. Those things are just completely irreplaceable for our business. And like I said, we've seen huge increases and we'll continue, of course, to shout the praises of 3D surveying. Thanks, guys.
Nice. That makes Marco so happy. Okay, Leon, you're going to talk to us about a use case you have for mining. So I'm going to let you take it from here.
Awesome. Yeah, thanks, Farah. working with the software.
Leon, I think we're having problems with your audio.
Yeah, imparting all the knowledge to us. Is it okay? Let me.
Leon, can you shut your camera off for me? Okay.
Okay, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, awesome. Awesome. Okay, so you didn't at all get my introduction now.
Correct.
Okay, awesome. So yeah, so Farah, I just want to say thank you for your presentation, and I just definitely want to support what you just said. So we at Som Survey Instrument, we resell 3D survey, and in the past years, everything obviously through software, our clients through all their projects. I can definitely also state that Marco and Vid and the team there at 3D Survey is always there to help. So that is definitely a massive plus, which you don't really get in the surveying field at all in terms of software. So that's really great, guys. So yes, guys, I'm really excited about the quick presentation that I'm going to give now in terms of focusing on profitability and especially on mines. So I'm going to speak a lot about profitability and a bit of percentages and numbers, and in terms of how you can really get a return on investment in using 3D survey instead of the more traditional way. But before I start, Mark, I did mention it. At the moment, there is definitely nothing that compares to the actual volume calculation that 3D survey can give. So for mining, it's a no-brainer. Just the actual output that you get from 3D survey is mind-blowing. And if you want to see a bit more on that, Marco definitely does have a webinar or two on that. Okay, so we are going to go through a quick scenario. So it's a scenario of two mines, but for the same job. Okay, so let's go take a look at, let's say, mine A. So there's a bit more of a traditional approach, so this mine, they will use one surveyor with a complete GNS basin rover kit to measure all the points manually in order to get the data needed for a volume calculation of 200 stockpiles. That same surveyor will then go and do the post-processing work in the office. And in the second scenario, it's again one guy, but this time, let's say it's a drone pilot with as well one GNSS kit, and also needs to measure 200 stockpiles. Okay, so in terms of the traditional mine in mine A, so the initial cost of investment is a bit less. Both of them at least did go the bit more modern route in not buying a complete GNSS kit that cost an arm and a leg, so going for a bit more modern technology, and both of them needed the software. So in terms of the software, in this scenario, the mine B had a bit more of an initial investment in terms of the drone PPK kit, as well as the post-processing software, which is now 3D survey there. But in terms of resource cost, let's say here in South Africa or more in Africa, they will send out the junior surveyor to go measure the stockpiles for $10 an hour, or if you take that to a month, 1,600 Rand per month. And the drone pilot will be a bit more, let's say $12, and the drone pilot will be, for a monthly term, about 1,980. Okay, so let's carry on. Thanks, Mark. Next slide, please. Okay, so the result of the initial acquisition and work. So if we're going to compare here now mine A versus mine B. Okay, so 200 stockpiles. So this is actual data of an actual client of ours that we compare it to. So let's say if we take 200 stockpiles and you have in mine A, you have one guy with a GNSS kit that needs to go measure the 200 stockpiles. That would take in field work 48 hours. The field cost, if you would have been per hour, would have been humongous, 480. Processing work, 16 hours. So the total working hours is 64 working hours. Guys, that's 8 days. Obviously, that's for one person at also a huge cost. And in terms of the Mine B, with the drone and with the 3D survey software, 200 stockpiles takes about, and can even be less, 5 hours. So you just, and it's an automated, you just go to your site, press the buttons, the drone does the work. You go to the office, about 2.5 hours of physical work, then you just leave it for a bit of processing, but you don't have to be in front of a computer for that. So in terms of an hourly, it's much less, $160, $30, and total working hours 7.5 with a turnaround of 1 day. And that is about almost a 90% increase. So if we compare the data, if we look at the initial investment, so again, the initial investment of Mine A with the one surveyor is a bit less. The operating cost, if it would have been per hour, is obviously much more because you have to pay that guy for 8 days, because the turnaround is 8 days versus 1 day, which is the massive, because time is money, and that's where one of the massive keys lie in terms of drone surveying and photogrammetry. And if it would have been a monthly salary, yes, okay, then in that case, Mine A is winning with, let's say, 20%. But in the next slide is where is where everyone wants the cookies. So if we compare the results, and to make this legit, we want to say, okay, so how can Mine A have the same turnaround time than Mine B? So that means that Mine A would need about 8 surveyors in the field. So now all of a sudden, they need 8 GNSS complete kits. So now the initial investment is $40,000. The operating cost, obviously per hour, because it's now faster, that stays the same. But if you look at the monthly salary, that the overhead that you have to carry to do the same work than one guy have to do is $12,000 versus almost $2,000. So that's an 85% difference on a monthly basis in terms of cost. And that's just so to be able to compare apples with apples. So there, obviously, you can see there's really a massive difference. Marco, if you can go to the next slide. So just a graph in terms of showing you a chart on what it does on a monthly basis in terms of, so that's a growing scale. So in terms of profitability, if you can drag, that's just for 1 year. Imagine we had a big enough screen and we can drag that up for 5 years. Like the results is actually really mind-blowing. And it's actually really a no-brainer to go over to newer technologies and newer ways of doing it. And there, in terms of if you just want to see it in a radar chart, so you're actually able to almost increase your grounds. So that is, just imagine if your return on investment is within almost 6 to 7 months, then from there on, you can magnify the amount of either the amount of work you do or the amount of profit that you take, or the amount of time that you spend. So the results in terms of, especially for mining, yes, our clients, really loves and really is embracing 3D survey in terms of a tool for volume calculation, whether the actual mine uses it themselves or a surveying house like Farah is going and tendering for mine projects and being able to do for mines what the mine surveyor could have never done before. Okay, next slide. Thanks, Marco. So guys, in closing off, so the extreme return on investment in terms of 3D survey software, and as you can hear, like we are really passionate about how 3D survey can make you more profitable. And if you go look at the maths and the sheets of the actual data that we accumulated, it's a year on year, it's a 600% in cost reduction. If you look at that hourly basis. In volume calculations, it's 8 times faster. That's massive, especially for something like mining, where everything runs on time. Everything, like there isn't another industry where the time equals money can be more emphasized in. And then obviously productivity, yes, actually I think it's more than 30%. And the accuracy is down to 1 centimeter, which is crazy. So in terms of speed, safety is another massive thing. So with mining, there's a lot of safety regulations. And now all of a sudden you have one guy going out. It's an automated process. He can stand on a safe distance. He can create his map. The drone can fly the entire route. The drone drops at his feet again. And that guy wasn't for 1 second in danger in terms of going wherever he needed to go in terms of getting only a few points. And now he have actually gotten thousands of data points. Okay, we touched on profitability, automation. So you don't even, obviously on mining, it's a different case, but you don't even really need a drone pilot. It is such an automated process that someone like, let's say my brother, can go up. If I can show him how 3D survey works, he, without even flying a drone ever in his life, he can set up his waypoints and he can say start, the drone will take off, it will take all the pictures and the drone will land at his feet again. So you don't need to be technical or a drone pilot or even be able to really master your drone flying skills to be able to use 3D survey. So that shouldn't be at all be a pain point. And obviously accuracy, yes, yeah, it's rapid. You have millions of data points instead of just a few in 1 centimeter. Yeah, thanks guys.
Thanks, Leon. Now, Marco, did you have a couple more slides to present, or do we want to jump into our poll?
I think we're ready for poll right now.
Okay, fabulous. So we have poll number 2. So again, as a reminder, right, where a pop-up box will appear as you see, and if you can select from the multiple choice answers and then hit submit, what we'll do while we're waiting for those results to come in is have a question for Marco, and this may also pertain perhaps to Farah and to Leon. But can you describe some specific features that help with ROI?
Thank you. Thank you, Linda. So yes, I will first fully agree with Farah. So definitely the first one is support is really important. So in case you still didn't start with this technology, it's great to start it correctly, okay? If you're already working with this with technology, you will have maybe some advanced project where you will need some help in addition, and we are happy for you there, okay? What is our goal? Our goal is actually to make you a professional surveyor. We figure out also then after we sell 3D survey license and also all our partners worldwide, we have more than 50 partners worldwide who are our distributors selling the softwares. After they sell the license, we do one-on-one training. Currently, most of the trainings are done via web platform. This training takes approximately 3 hours or something like that. And we try to give you as much knowledge as possible in this short time period. And in this way, you start to do correctly. You don't need to think too much what to do, how to solve it. The training includes also field experience. So we can advise you how to plan some specific missions, what kind of drone to use it, how to set your camera, and of course, how to plan your mission and so on. So I think the support part is really, really important one to get this extreme ROI out of it. And of course, also later on, If you need some help, you can call us. We have a phone number on our webpage. You can send us an email. We can check via Skype, TeamViewer, GoToWebinar, anything like that. All platforms are available and support you out when you need this help. So don't think too long, contact us, or there are also a number of different additional ways. We have a lot of webinars where we try to learn you how to work it and to work efficiently, actually. So this is the first one. Then nothing additionally to add to the second one, volume calculation. I think this is such a technology that there is no better on the market right now. Leon nicely described the benefits out of it. So it's super fast, elegant, accurate, just blockbuster. Then another one, we just released it, our last release is X-ray function, really interesting function. With the help of this function, you actually produce X-ray. It's like a body scan when you go to a doctor to scan your bones or something like that, but we scan out the facades from the buildings and you get kind of a black and white orthophoto based on which you can then really fast and effective connect the survey map or topo map out of it. We did some comparisons with traditional ways. So if you measure the building corners with your total station, you are 10 times slower. If you measure it by connecting them based on the textured 3D model, you're 5 times slower. So X-ray is just the best possible solution right now. Then again, I would like to mention this integrated CAD engine, because if you have a software where you calculate point cloud or textured 3D mesh, and then you need to export this to any third-party software, this will cost you additional money and time because there are all the times coordinate systems which needs to be set up correctly. Usually this is a big amount of the data and this is really hard. So take in count and have in mind to have a solution which is complete one and offers you this one. And nevertheless, a lot more features and functions are inside, and they were all developed based on real field experience. So we worked on a field for more than 5 years. We were doing projects. We are still working it on some specific and advanced projects. So we are constantly in contact with the surveyors, and we know what are your needs. So the software is developed by surveyors for surveyors, and I think this is one of the strongest benefits comparison to other solution, and which one brings you actually the extreme ROI at the end. So sometimes these are small tricks which helps you to be really efficient. Maybe Leon or Farah, would you like to add something in this part?
I'll add a little bit of something, but I mean, it mostly piggybacks off of everything that's been said today about the support and of course, all of the other features that are within 3D Survey. And I'll piggyback off Leon's presentation a little bit as far as ROI, in particular with mining and open pit mines. Our company in particular has done for a long time, 10 plus years, annual inventory for a large set of open pit mines here in Arizona. And we used to do it the traditional way, where we would have 5 or 6 guys go out. We would rent extra gear from our gear guy, and everybody was out there either with robotic total stations or GPS, and we would spend days measuring, Lord only knows how many stockpiles, coming back into the office, building all of our tins, all of our survey parts. And that's something that 3D Survey combines all into one thing now. So now we go out, we fly the mine, we come back in, we get all of our calculations done right there, and they have a run report function as well. So it takes all the guesswork out of it for us, and it has, like I said, increased our production and our ROI immensely.
Thank you, Farah.
Yep. So Leon, do you have anything more to add to that?
Yeah. So just on that last point, what we really love is through the years as a surveying instruments company, we have definitely come across a lot of other photogrammetry software. And what we can really say about 3D Survey and why we chose to partner with 3D Survey and that we think there's really no other software to go to is because it's really built by surveyors for surveyors. So it has in mind what you are going to struggle with. It has already the functions built in. What we know is the stumbling blocks. We know what's the stuff that takes time. And yeah, just one of the things that I also want to mention is that it's a once-off cost that has the full package, that has everything inside of it. Where you get a lot of softwares these days that you have to buy this and then this and then this and then this. And at the end of the day, it really costs an arm and a leg. And it doesn't even deliver the same results. So 3D Survey definitely is a blessing to our clients, and it's really a force out there to really help surveyors like Farah and their team to be more profitable, actually to get more work and actually to get more stuff done and be able to spend more time at home.
Excellent. Thanks, Leon. So as you can see, we've got the results of our poll up, and it looks like we have the perfect audience for this webinar. So as you can see, which of these comprise the bulk of the projects that you're working on. So 26% each for volume calculations and survey map, and then 14% each for cadastral measurements, orthophoto calculations, and 3D models for documentation. So yeah, just a tiny bit was not applicable. So I think that's fantastic. We've got exactly the right audience. So one question that I have for all of you is, what kind of training have you found beneficial to become proficient in this software? How long do you think it takes, or have you found that you learn most by getting in touch with the 3D Survey guys and they can walk you through it? Or if you could talk a little bit about that, I think that might be helpful.
I'd like to answer that if you guys don't mind. I've been lucky enough to attend 2 in-person training seminars from Marco and Tomasz. So I feel like I've got the upper hand on a couple of people out there, but they pre-COVID, they did offer every so often they would come to the States and do a couple of tours of training. So those are obviously great ways to do it, but their website is really not comparable to anybody else's. They're constantly coming out with new videos that cover every single function that you could possibly find in 3D Survey. So if you have a question that you don't necessarily need to reach out to the support team, but you're wondering how exactly does this work, or what are the best settings to do a 3D mesh or something like that, you can go direct to their website, and they have a huge number of videos that you can watch. And you learn so much just from those. And on top of that, if you do have to contact the support guys, they do a web conference with you and do training online. So when you first buy the software, from everything that we've obviously gone through, you get all of that's included. So any questions that you have, they're right there to answer. And then on your first few projects, while you're still getting to know the software, they're walking right alongside you, telling you what the best way to do it is. For us, they were with us when we first started with drones. So they were helping us. What's the best camera settings to use on our drone? What's the best way to set our control? So the support team and the website are the 2 very best ways, in my opinion, if you can't go to an in-person training.
Thank you, Farah. So happy to help you anytime, also in the future, okay? And Linda, I would like to add maybe this part also. So we are last 1 year, we are really working hard also on additional webinars where we try to present new topics. Every Thursday actually is a live webinar with interesting topics. So feel free to visit our page and register for next one. And also the new platform which was launched is a forum where users can actually write their experience, problems, situations, anything like that. And lovely welcome you on the forum also, okay, to add a bit more topic in addition and to be even more effective. In case we are sleeping or something like that, that someone else can answer your questions, okay?
Excellent. We have a few questions from the audience here. I can just throw them out there. And I know this first one you did answer, Marco, in your presentation, but in case some people joined us late, does a software support just DJI or other drone manufacturers such as Autel?
So the software works with any drone, any camera, so it's not a problem. But the 3D Survey Pilot, this is actually the mission planning app for the field. It's support for the DJI drones. But otherwise, 3D software for processing, 3D models, point clouds, works with any drone, any camera. You can use your phone image, anything like that.
All right, thanks. Another question, what kind of accuracy ranges are attainable from the drone photogrammetry?
Yes, so this question partly described already Leon. So there was a 1 centimeter, and it's really crazy what you can achieve with images and photogrammetry. So if you fly on a standard flight in Europe, this is, let's say, 60 or 80 meters above the terrain. This is, I think, 300 feet or something like that. You can easily achieve 1 to 2 centimeters accuracy. If you have an RTK drone, you need probably just 1 to 3 ground control points in addition to do the accurate orientation, but it's super accurate. Because we are surveyors, we are aware for this purpose, so we are working a lot to achieve the highest accuracy level, so it's super accurate. And if you go lower, if you fly lower, you can get even better accuracy. Usually, we explain to our customers the end accuracy, the 3D point end accuracy is twice of a pixel resolution. So you can calculate out easily.
Excellent, thank you. Okay, and final question is, are you planning to support Autodesk recap export as RCP or RCS format?
Just see, okay. So the 3D Survey offers number of exported file formats. So for the AutoCAD, we really advise you to use LAS file format because it's the standard one. The recap file, it's from AutoCAD. Every software has its own file format, as we have PLY, for example, PLY, for example. But let's see for the future, we need to see what kind of format is. I know this one, and yes, maybe this is also possible in the near future to do it. Otherwise, you can do it already now with the LSA file.
Okay, excellent. Well, I think we're actually out of time. So I would like to say thank you so much to Marco and Farah and Leon. Just a reminder to everybody that we will be providing a copy of this recording of the webinar as well as a copy of the presentation via email. So stay tuned for that. And we're always eager to receive your feedback, of course, so there'll be a survey that immediately follows this. And we welcome your input. And thank you very much for joining us. Bye to everyone.
Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, guys.